Podcasting is a fairly new online industry that gives the host unlimited creative freedom to create a theme and style of content presentation for the audience to listen to on streaming platforms and also to watch on YouTube. The length can be anything from 20 minutes to 3 hours. The audience is growing globally, and content creators are feeding the appetite of its audience. And the podcast industry is also growing in numbers in South Africa, and the audience is also engaging with different podcasts. And here is our unofficial top 10 podcasts in South Africa.
When my friend came up to me when I was in university and said, yo, I'm actually gay, it changed my whole perception. I was like, yo, like at this time, we had made him struggle up to that point.
Yeah.
Because we'd make him like talk to girls and all those things, and like we'd fuss with girls together. And, like I even got a girl to come to his res one time, and like we were having like a double dates and stuff like that. But this whole time it was like, you know, obviously gay.
You don't want to
And I always had this perception that being gay was like a choice. But I really am a firm believer that like this thing is like you're just born into it. Like you're born into being this person and you can't change that. And it's also changed my perception of like, obviously we always speak about how we don't want kids, but if we did have kids, how like having a gay son would like be for me.
Aba, Ayaleo, Amlak, Grandmaster of Abakhalipi Bokhanya, Usilo Samanzi. For a very virgin mind, what does that mean? And where does it come from? Because we're normally born Penwelunga Lomlochwa, Sipho Buthelezi. So where does this come from for you?
Okay.
Welcome, by the way, to the panel show. I'm honored to have you.
Ngiyabonga.
Sizwe claims that he's the reason you're here.
Oh, I was a headache. No, at Metro, I was a headache.
Do you know you were a headache?
I realized that I was a superstar.
Oh.
Now I started seeing myself like I get bored. We're in Cape Town or we're in PE. Then I want to be in a penthouse. And then I start upgrading.
That story is true. I thought that story was a lie.
We get to Durban, Elangeni Hotel. The whole staff is sleeping in a one single bedroom. I'm like,
I want to upgrade.
Floor manager, let me see, what's happening there at the top?
I want that.
The guy's like, oh no, that's the penthouse. So if the SABC is paying, how much different must I add on? I said, well, you'll have to add 1,500. Okay, I want
Is
that.
that it? I want it.
I remember once Glenn came into my suite at Elangeni Hotel. And then he's like, Pele. And then when Futhi, I invited him to see me and see him.
The penthouse.
What's it, Glenn? Pele, what's going on there? And then I lied to him. I'm like, well, Minister is in Pukerela.
Hello, family, and welcome to the VT podcast. And here we talk about ideas that matter. About 3 years ago, I was on tour in Europe, and one of my favorite places to go to was the country that is also the city that is Luxembourg. And I spoke at the main auditorium and hall in Luxembourg to an audience of about 1,500 people. And for those of you who don't know, Luxembourg is actually famous for being a big part of the financial services ecosystem. And my entire keynote was titled The Future of Finance, Where the World Was Going. 3 years ago, the idea of wearable bank accounts, the idea that you can have a wearable device that has access to your bank account was revolutionary. It was changing. Today, there are parts of the world, Luxembourg included, Liechtenstein and others, that are already actually doing this.
Welcome back to the History of South Africa podcast with me, your host, Des Latham. This is episode 2, and we are continuing our geostrophic tour around the beautiful landscape of Southern Africa after our brief geology excursion in episode 1. So, like the rest of Africa south of the Sahara, the landscape features a dominant high central plateau surrounded by coastal lowlands. Any glance at a map will show you that. One of the more prominent features is the Great Escarpment between KwaZulu-Natal and Lesotho, otherwise known as the Drakensberg. That was caused by lava flows which are more resistant to weathering than conglomerates or sandstone. Most of this lava has eroded away, but a small patch remains and covers much of Lesotho today. This mountainous area has a major part to play in our story, although these days South Africans are pretty disparaging about the tiny mountain kingdom. Some regard it as the 10th province of South Africa.
Was that the best place to be though?
Yeah. No, but that was the album. That was the album mode I was talking about, where we like, I heard the beat and I was like, there's only one guy I'm gonna call, and I called him for 6 months, and when he woke up finally,
so we talk about MT now, eh?
Oh, I mean, there's someone else on that record, but yeah, probably.
Who else? Younger, shout out Younger.
Shout out, yeah. Yo, Kid X was on that joint. Kid X was on the song, and he had a verse on it, and it was dope verse too. But MT sent me the hook, and I was like, yo, hook is amazing. Called him back, amazing, love it, bro. And he's like, yo, there's a verse too. I'm like, I really want an MT verse, really. I'm like, I got a lot of people, and it is a single. You can't have a long single. So I was like, yo, send it. I heard the verse, I was like, yo. Fire. Hey, yo, Kid X, I gave Kid X something else. I gave Kid X something. Because because of like Younger came first. Yeah. Like I called Younger first. Yeah. Kid X we're in the studio vibing and so I was like, yo, X, But I paid my dues with X. I gave him a joint, but yeah, and so imagine, right? Imagine like you hear a verse like that. You go, this is an amazing verse.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, I'm gonna put it on this song. It's probably, it fits the song way more than mine, right?
But looking at the act, I mean, you were in the acting industry, entertainment industry before you got into business, right?
Yeah.
Did you feel a sense of, I'll be okay? In my industry, because there isn't a lot of security within that business. So what I'm trying to basically understand is that how did you navigate the uncertainty of, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s, but how do my 50s look from a financial perspective?
Right.
Am I achieving enough? What are my peers doing? How did you handle all of that?
No, I was never secure because it's always been a hand to mouth. Really type of industry.
Yeah.
It's better now because we have long forms, we have soapies, we have telenovelas and whatever. So performers get to have longer contracts.
Yeah.
Whereas when we started, you'd literally be employed for like 6-8 weeks.
And you don't know what's happening next.
And you don't know what's happening next. You have to find the next gig. So I think from a very early age, I learned to save.
Lindo Kukle's grandmother says that he became an orphan at an early age. No more information is provided about how his parents passed away, but Lindo, as he was affectionately called, was embraced by his extended family, and his aunt and uncle raised him. They refer to him as their son, and it's clear in the deep grief they express in documentaries and to journalists that they did indeed see Lindo Kukle as their own child. Lindo's grandmother, aunt and uncle also all explain that there was never really a coming out for Lindo Kukle as a gay man. They knew very well that Lindo was gay, even from before he would be old enough to express attraction to others, and no one in his family had any issue with that.
So we are not financing, we are not exploring these opportunities. The opportunities are there. We need to network these businesses. We need to use a technology like has been applied, appropriate technology. If we look at M-Pesa and all of these things in Kenya and West Africa, they've applied technology far more than we have in South Africa. And then we also need to look at financing models, because any small business, any entrepreneur will tell you that the biggest issue is about cash flow and how you do that. If we could finance these businesses, we need to change the regulations of how we finance it. And then the last one is we have to change our regulations in our cities. We see a hawker as a nuisance. We try and kick them off. We want cycle lanes, not hawker lanes.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise So the next milestone, Stall, are you ready for this? Hey, I'm scared about this one, man. It's never been done before. We're trying to fill up Sunbet Arena in Pretoria.
Ooh, no way.
On the 15th of April for our 1 million subscribers event.
1 million.
1 million. 1 million. Hey, man, I'm scared about this one, so
It should. What's scary? It's not scary. It's not scaring us. It's not what we're doing.
boys and girls, they and them.
Yes, Nandi.
It is official. Podcast and Chill has reached 1 million subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another special edition of Podcast and Chill. Imagine Lomlene enjoy a game. You just cover number 1. Can you bounce in the freaking building? Make some fucking noise. I'm the coolest kid in Africa. Do you still call yourself that, or you now Zulu man with some power? You want to be called legendary? You said you want to be called an elder.
An elder. What's up, homies? What a house.
What a one? What's going on?
I'm in the house, homies.
Can I feature the songs?
I will not be used again. It's not gonna happen.
Did your mom once call in to ask to say you're not coming into work, you're sick?
Maybe 50 every week.
Wow! 50,000?
For sure.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What?
How much would it cost for you to give him a loan job?
Only 1.5 for a minimum.
You wanna cancel it? Because you don't like the shit that we're saying, which is not for you. If you don't like it, don't tune in.
I don't get staff. That's our house.
For me to agree to come to this, I knew this is the hottest seat in Africa. Legend in the house.